So, hello there, SEJ students. Finally posting some video material. I hope that all of you are staying healthy and isolated and being productive in your home classrooms. Here is our theoretical classroom. It makes it particularly difficult to do VEJB or practice exercises, but we're going to keep moving forward with our weekly book material and weekly assignments, and I'll get to that as far as this week goes in just a moment. I first want to review some of the material that is in the book itself. This week it was page 81, 82, and 83, which were for our assignments. So on the first page, I just want to go over some material. This is kind of fun material to talk about, checking our knowledge of the body and mind, and a lot of this knowledge not being necessarily terribly relevant, but interesting. So I just want to read through here at the bottom of page 81, in answer to the question, how well do you know your body? It says to listen and check, and there's supposed to be a listening activity. What extra information do you learn about each topic? I'm going to read through that so you all do have information relating to these answers. Not only answers the questions posted in the 8 items, but also some additional information. So I'm just going to read through that, and we learn a little bit more in this respect. So number 1 says every day the average person loses between, the answer is 50 and 100 hairs, but you would have to lose over 50% of the hairs on your head before anyone would notice. Interestingly, blondes have more hair, about 140,000 hairs on their head. Brunettes average about 110,000, and people with black hair about 108,000, and redheads come in last with about 80,000 average hairs on their head. Now you know. Regarding number 2, the average adult heart is about the size of 2 fists. The main artery from the heart, the aorta, is about the diameter of a garden hose, and interestingly, the human heart creates enough pressure to squirt blood up to a distance of 30 feet. I don't recommend trying that at home. Number 3, nerve impulses to and from the brain travel as fast as 250 miles per hour. Rough conversion, about 400 kilometers an hour. The fastest messages are to the brain's pain receptors, telling you that metal is hot, for example. And it's a common myth that we use only part of our brain. It may be as little as 10% when resting, but during the course of a typical day, with all activities involved, we use 100% of our brain. We're still figuring out in which ways. Number 4, babies are born with 50% more bones than adults have. Many of these bones then fuse together, making larger bone structures that would have made it impossible for the baby to be born. As adults, we are about 1 centimeter taller in the morning than in the evening when our joints have settled and become thinner. So I suppose if you ever want to get measured and feel taller, do it in the morning. Number 5, fingernails grow roughly twice as fast as toenails, and both now grow 25% faster than they did 70 years ago because of our protein-rich diet. The fastest nail is on the middle finger, but basically the longer the finger, the faster the nail grows. Number 6, most people blink around 15 times a minute. Now that you're thinking about it, you'll probably blink more. But that reduces by a half when staring at a computer screen, which is why long-term computer users often suffer from dry eye syndrome, and this increases when lying even further. Babies only blink twice a minute. That's probably why we're so used to seeing them with that, wide-eyed look. 7, children have 3 times as many taste buds as adults, which is why they often find bitter vegetables inedible and why older people enjoy them more. This is true in my life. The number of taste buds varies widely between people, with some people having 4 or 5 times as many as others. By the age of 60, however, most people have lost about a half of their taste buds. Finally, point 8, according to a study by the Mayo Clinic in the US, the 3 most common reasons for visits to the doctor are skin problems, joint problems, and back problems, including arthritis when it comes to joint problems. Another common complaint is referred to by doctors as TATT, tired all the time. I got that completely wrong. I thought it would be headaches, sore throat, and stomach problems. So, yeah, my 3 choices were all wrong. That happens. So, as far as page 82 and 83, I'm not going to go over the vocabulary piece by piece. Actually, there isn't like word by word vocabulary in here. Hopefully, you've had a chance to read through all 3 pages. So there are some interesting discussion questions on these pages, and I would love for us to spend time in some kind of interactive way doing so. That's what we do in class, and for me, it's maybe the most interesting part of class. I like to hear your ideas on things and perspectives, and right now that's quite difficult, but maybe in the coming weeks, in this non-ideal situation, we'll find a way to make some kind of dialogue work. In the meantime, you have these opening questions, discuss these questions in groups. They ask, like, what do you think are the best remedies for these ailments? How do we know these remedies actually help? What other factors may be involved? What do you know about the placebo effect? So it's kind of redundant to answer what is the placebo effect at this point after hopefully you've read it. For me, hopefully we use our own, critical minds to answer some of these questions in anticipation of the reading. Here, when it thinks about the best remedies for ailments, most time it's sleep. That's my expert opinion, my expert knowledge. I'm not sure about insomnia. I don't know a whole lot about special remedies for cold. I know there's a lot of made up things. I know people and friends who take echinacea, drink a whole lot of vitamin C. Vitamin C helps before you get sick. It's just good for the immune system. Echinacea has no proven effects on these kind of things, but people continue to take it anyway. Maybe there's a placebo effect. As far as the flu, I know of one remedy that's not commonly known, and that is related to a plant we call elderflower or elderberry, in particular black elderberry, which we call zova in Serbian, and it grows all over the place here. But the berries that turn black in the summer, when pressed and concentrated into a formula, have shown to significantly reduce the effects of flu and shorten its symptoms. So it seems to be one of nature's great cures against the flu. And when I get the flu, I've made a concentrated black elderberry jam, and I eat it when I have the flu, and I think it helps. But that could be the placebo effect. As far as answering the questions, I think number 2 is pretty straightforward. And hopefully you found some things you didn't know about the placebo effect. In number 4 on page 82, there is a particular set of answers, and so we'll go over those. It says, look at the text again and say who, number 1, received the placebo after being told it was likely to have a positive effect on them. This would be cyclists preparing for a time trial. Number 2, didn't perform any better after taking a placebo. That would be half the cyclists who received the placebo. 3, gave people placebos expecting them to have no effect whatsoever. These were doctors in the 19th century when this kind of effect became apparent. 4, felt better as a result of medical malpractice. This is patients with broken backs. Number 5, developed the earliest theories on how major physical problems could have psychological causes. That was Freud. That's often the first answer in psychology. Number 6 has the opposite reaction to most people when given some placebo pills. These would be Italian football fans for whom blue pills act as a stimulant rather than a sedative being something that makes you tired. Number 7 was keen to be given a supply of sugar pills. These are people who had taken part in a drug trial at Harvard, even after they knew it was a placebo. And finally, can produce a similar effect to a placebo using only words, and this is a caring and sympathetic doctor, which makes sense. Most of us are going to do better with a caring and sympathetic professional regardless of the situation. So when it comes to vocabulary, we had to match the words in the text from the text in box A and box B to make compound nouns associated with health. So this is vocabulary that could, of course, end up on our colloquiums. And the first one they give us is drug trial. The other answers are pain relief, self-suggestion, broken back, performance-enhancing substance, comes up in sports a lot, brain scan, local anesthetic, and health benefits. And the final element on this page where we would need answers for is number 6. It says find words in the text which mean something close to fascinated. That would be intrigued. Limited is similar to restricted. Notices, would be perceives. Number 4, example, would be demonstration. Number 5, gain access to, would be tap into. Number 6, ask strongly for, begged for. Number 7, making use of, harnessing. And disadvantage, a snag. Well, that's kind of, something that limits progress more than anything else. Like you snag yourself on a branch. So they have some interesting what do you think questions afterwards. Like, do you think some forms of alternative medicine rely purely on the placebo effect? Which ones? Would you ever take part in drug trials? Why or why not? Have you ever felt unwell and suspected it was for psychological rather than physical reasons? What was the situation? Here again is a place for interesting discussion, which we would be able to accomplish if we are in class, but is very difficult to accomplish in our current circumstances. I'll offer my own answers, and hopefully, you have ways of coming up with your own and thinking critically about these. I think that some forms of alternative medicine do rely purely on the placebo effect. I know, having read up on homeopathy, that there is no scientific evidence to prove that it works in, let's say, peer-reviewed scientific trials, but it remains highly popular in many circles, and I know quite a few people who believe in it and practice it. So, would you ever take part in drug trials? Absolutely, I would. If I had problems, especially that seemed to be difficult to control, and there was a drug that might do some good, I would, of course, weigh its benefits and side effects and potential repercussions, but I think that these kind of trials, whether they're health-related or, related to, physical health or mental health, are one of the ways that we push science forward, which is one of the most important things that humanity can do. So yes, I would partake in many trials to see, many trials that might offer help, not just to do it for fun. And if I ever felt unwell and suspected it was for psychological rather than physical reasons, absolutely, the situations are numerous. I think everybody has these. I think sometimes it's just a gloomy day. Here I'm recording, it's cloudy. I've read about situations in certain climates. They even have a name for it. I'm trying to remember the name of the syndrome, but basically in winter, when there are fewer hours of sunlight, I think seasonal affective disorder, I believe is what it's called. You feel worse physically and emotionally and psychologically because there is less sun. Now, that could also be chemical related. You're not getting as much vitamin D, and there are studies being done on vitamin D and its effect on mood, but generally it's cloudy and miserable and rainy out, and you feel worse, and that can affect your physical well-being also. So the final element to talk about this week is your assignment. That covers pages 81, 82, and 83. We will stay in this unit next week and have an additional assignment, but I wanted to comment on the task journal assignment. One thing first off is that students have been asking, do they need to turn these in on a weekly basis? Right now, the answer is no. The task journal assignments should be written on a weekly basis, but they are not due until the end of the semester in written form, whenever that end of the semester ends up occurring. So hopefully it's quite clear what I wanted you to do for this semester. Of course, you're evaluating a constantly changing situation, which is the coronavirus pandemic. Different countries have had many different approaches. I myself have been following the situation pretty closely, and for me, of particular interest are my two countries, one which is here in Serbia and the other in the United States. I'm not going to go into detail in terms of criticizing or reacting to the approaches of governments in these two countries, but I would generally say that the American government has been very slow to respond, and it's a much more difficult environment to manage. But that said, they've been very limited in their approach, and I think the results are going to be pretty catastrophic in the end. Here in Serbia, I think we took a more early approach and a more thorough approach, and I think much of what the government has done limiting traffic, we've had a lot of help from China, and bringing in resources that were, let's say, lacking here, and restricting the amount of time that people can spend in public and where they can spend it. will prove effective as long as people behave themselves. But I think they've taken a much stronger approach to this situation than the American government has. So for me, it's better to be here than in America right now. Just in general, that's why I live here, but especially in this particular situation. So hopefully your assignment related to this is clear. You want to research one country's response, and capture some of its main actions and judge them. Right? We're not medical experts, but you can have your own opinion, and of course, you should be able to do some research on that. So this assignment is a little bit longer than most, but partially because it is such a relevant issue. So 3 paragraphs at least 100 words in length, addressing major actions and the repercussions associated with them. 1 paragraph that addresses your opinion of the country's total reaction. And then, of course, hopefully while you're doing research, you're bumping into new words. As always, capture those words as new vocabulary, define them, and create sample sentences. So those may not work their way onto the colloquium, it seems like, but we will have plenty of vocabulary on the colloquiums. As far as the colloquiums go, I'm not sure in what way and how we will get them done, but hopefully over the course of the semester, I think we will find a solution that will benefit everybody. So in the meantime, good luck. Like I said, I'll be posting new material. I hope you're using the discussion questions in here to engage your own thoughts and your own brain and maybe some people around you. And in the near future, hopefully we'll find a way for all of us to do that. Stay safe, stay isolated, and yeah, I'll see you, or rather you'll see me next week when I post new material. Bye-bye.